Hard to believe we're here, Rube.
Hard to believe we're here, considering a lot of things. The way last year ended, the way this year began, and Eagles have not lost other than to Washington since the bye week.
Yeah,
Here
wow.
we go again.
Pretty unbelievable. The Eagles going to the NFC Championship game on Sunday, 3 p.m. at the Link against the Commanders. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast brought to you by Nissan, Reuben Frank, and Dave Zangaro. Reuben, it's here. Like the moment we've kind of been waiting for all season. We're not going to Detroit. That's a good thing. The Eagles get this home game. We have a lot to talk about today. We have
what sports writer is most likely to not realize that the Eagles have number one seed and fly to Detroit Saturday? You want to give me a name?
No. I do not.
Do you have one in mind?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll save that for after the show. We have a bunch of questions to answer from you guys. The inbox was flooded after the divisional round win, as you'd expect. We'll get to our top four remaining teams, and we'll rank them. We've done the power rankings for most of the season. There's just 4 teams left, so a little easier this time. We talked to Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, Michael Clay on Tuesday, so we have some takeaways from those conversations. But Rube, let's start with this Eagles offense, Jalen Hurts, his health, the pass game, and everything that might go into this performance on Sunday.
Yeah, and we don't know the extent of his knee injury, but certainly didn't look great. He was able to finish the game. Sometimes guys do that on adrenaline. I'm sure he's been checked out. They don't tell us anything, but I'm sure there was probably an MRI just to make sure everything was structurally sound. But he took quite a blow. He was knocked into an awkward position and took quite a blow on that play, and was obviously not the same player after it. Now there's also the conditions. So there were a couple of things compromising his movement ability. It's hard to tell exactly how much of each. But I think the bottom line, and we've been saying this since probably like week 6, that the passing game has to be better. And for me, it's not about the passing numbers. Like, I'm okay if you win a game with 130 passing yards. But I think 2 things. I think, first of all, a team with an offense like Washington that's going to score, most games are going to score points. They're going to score in the low 30s, high 20s. You're going to have to match them point for point, touchdown for touchdown. And I'm just not sure the way Jalen has been playing, the decisions he's been making, and how long he's been holding the ball, the sacks he's been taking. I don't know if you can do that just with Saquon. And I think we've been saying since week 6 or so that at some point they're going to need that passing game. And they had it against the Steelers. That was encouraging. They haven't had it many other times. Now, I think there's a lot to be said about Jalen not throwing interceptions, not turning the ball over, making big plays. I think Kellen Moore mentioned this today, making big plays when he has to. Like, there have been a couple situations where he hasn't done anything, and then it's crunch time. There's a big third down, and you think about the 4th down to AJ the other day. Some of the passes to Goddard over the last couple of weeks when they absolutely had to, the 28-yarder to Devontae, when they absolutely had to need a play, he's made a play. But I just feel like they need more from the passing game. First 11 weeks, Jalen completed 14 passes of 35 yards or more. Since then, he hasn't completed any. So it's not the same offense. It's not the same passing game. The formula is great against almost anybody. Run Saquon, don't turn the ball over, play great defense. The deeper you get in these last 2 games, I think you might need a little more.
Yeah, and although I will say, like, the idea of chasing points in a game against a big offense, the devil's advocate in me thinks, yeah, but I mean, they're explosive running the football. And even if you're not explosive, you can then play keep away a little bit. And I think if you limit possessions, that's another way to limit the effectiveness of the opposing quarterback, who's really good. I think that Jayden Daniels has been fantastic this year. The Eagles, by the way, that line has moved to 6 points. They're 6-point favorites over the Commanders, who, were the 6th seed for a reason. The Eagles the 2. That's why this game is in Philly. Jalen Hurts' health is something that we'll monitor all week. I don't know if we'll truly know how mobile he is until he gets out in the field Sunday. And I think there's a little cause for concern there.
Yeah, there is. I'd be surprised. And so much of this offense depends on even if he's not running, the threat of him running and the way teams defend the Eagles is related to that. I mean, that's, even Sunday, he didn't have a great game passing. He still had 70 rushing yards and a 44-yard touchdown. He's looked really fast to me over the last, in a way that late in seasons he never has before. And then this happens.
It's a shame because you're right. Like these other seasons, he's had like the ankle or like other little injuries. This year he had the concussion, which is a little different. It's not like something that was going to hamper him on the field necessarily.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I assume it hasn't. But something, he just hasn't been the same since he came back from that. It's, when it's his second game, it's not rust. He just looks off to me. And I don't, there's different ways to quantify it, but, when he's at his best, I mean, this is just not Jalen Hurts at his best. So
I will say though, like, I don't think it's all him. I think
I agree. Totally agree.
Like the concepts are getting stale again. Like, I don't think Kellen Moore had his best game in either of these two playoff games when it comes to calling it. And then you have like the weird kind of fluky things like 2 AJ Brown drops, his first 2 of the season. I think if AJ catches that ball over the top, or I guess like the back shoulder throw, which is a perfect pass from Hurts, like all of a sudden it looks a lot better.
True.
And the Dallas Goedert 19-yarder that gets called back. So look, those things happened and the numbers are what they are, but I didn't think that Jalen was like awful in this game.
Yeah, I don't think he was awful. I mean, he's now thrown 178 passes in a row without an interception in the postseason, third longest streak. I'm going to keep saying that because I spent a lot of time looking that up because the league doesn't keep that. I keep that. I figured out that list, and I'm going to keep saying this because I put in a lot of work on that. But, yeah, I don't think he was awful. I think we're used to seeing a better version, though. And, I mean, I think the safety and Kellen Moore took the blame for the play call, and rightfully so. But Jalen still should know.
Ball's going to be out.
There
were a bunch of factors on that play. There was Jurgens getting beat.
Yeah.
There was the snow. There's Jalen, like, ball's probably got to be out. And then there's Kellen, like, what are you doing there? And also that second down rollout call on a quarterback with a bum knee. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, on the last drive? Yeah, that was...
Saquon picks up 3 yards on the first down. We're going to, like, I get what you're trying to do, but you got to take into account all of the situation. And part of that situation was a quarterback who didn't look that mobile.
Yeah, I wonder if Kellen just wasn't aware of how bad he was hurt, or there seemed to be a disconnect somewhere, which was...
They need Jalen to be honest with them this week.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's something where, like, you love how tough he is. You love that he never wants to admit when he's hurting. They need to know exactly how healthy or not healthy he is this week.
No doubt about it. And that 3 and out was so ugly. And I think 1 first down probably would have clinched the win. That was a disaster. Almost cost them the game, but they did win. And that's the one common denominator with Jalen. Hasn't lost a game since Tampa. So he does win. There's definitely, a healthy Jalen is really dangerous, even if he's not putting up big passing numbers. I just, we haven't seen an unhealthy Jalen like really have success. So, yeah, it's a concern.
The other part of this is AJ Brown, 2 catches for 14 yards. He was very proud of his big blocks, which was cool to see in the post game, like grinning ear to ear about his 2 touchdown blocks.
Yeah,
that counts. Has certainly not had the impact on the passing game in the last 2 weeks. How much of that do you think is the knee? It's something that isn't going away.
Yeah, and I think he kind of admitted it after the game. He said it's getting better, which indicates that it's still not there. Whether that's why he dropped the one down at the 2 or 3 yard line, I don't know. Could be he was just, if you're just not 100%, he's the kind of guy, if he's not 100%, it's not great. But it's a ball that he knows he should have caught. I don't know. I mean, banged up knees on Jalen and AJ Brown is not ideal.
Yeah. And it's funny because this passing game conversation, I'm guaranteeing there are some people at home watching this or listening to this that are going, I can't do it anymore. I can't have this conversation anymore. Sometimes I feel the same way. I'm like, are we doing this? Like, we've done this all season long. They ended up winning a lot of games with what they do, but I think it's still a worthwhile conversation and it's a worthwhile topic because I still think they're going to need to do more in the passing game to win a Super Bowl. And that's ultimately the goal. Now, I think a lot of the divisional round game against the Rams is like, you kind of throw it out the window because of the conditions.
Yeah.
But if it was just that game, that'd be fine. It wasn't just that game. We go back to a lot of the season. And to remind everyone, it was the Panthers game where everything kind of reached a boiling point a little bit, where you had players frustrated in the locker room after that win. That was the A.J. Brown passing comment, and then followed by Brandon Graham on the radio the next day, kind of creating that firestorm. And then the very next game, it was Steelers. Jalen throws for 290, 2 touchdowns. Him and A.J. do a little dance. Everything's fine. This passing offense is back, baby. Then the next week, he gets a concussion in the first quarter, and we don't see him again until the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, it hasn't been great. So anyone who thought that those questions were going away with one game against the Steelers, it hasn't.
Yeah, and for me, it's the sacks more than the passing numbers themselves, because they've shown they can win games with 130, 150 passing yards with that running back. It's, that sack. I mean, the Rams are coming down on that second drive. It's 28-22. They're down 6 because of a safety and because of 2 extra points. I mean, if it's not for the safety, it's an 8-point game. They got to get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion just to tie. Now it's a 6-point game. They win it with a touchdown. So it's not like I'm just complaining about Jalen. I mean, that play could have cost them the game, could have cost them a chance at the championship. And yeah, you're right. It's not all on Jalen at all, but the sacks are a concern, and just his awareness back there. And, when you're not healthy, it's hard to be at your best. Not just physically, but I think just the overall, just he just looks off. But I mean,
again, not a one game thing either.
Yeah.
Like, there've been, like, when Jalen isn't at his best this year, I think the pocket awareness hasn't been where it needs to be.
Yeah, that's been the common denominator. So we'll see. I think they're going to need a little more Sunday. Now the conditions look like they're going to be good. So now we'll find out Wednesday if he's practicing. I don't even know if he'll be, we'll find out mid-afternoon if he's practicing. And
if they practice at all.
They're going to have to practice somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they might have a walkthrough Wednesday was my point.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then they get to hide behind the rest designation. Like, they're going to draw this out, I think.
Yeah. By 3:00 Sunday, we'll know something.
I still think there's a chance we're not going to know really, truly his health status until the game. And that's a little scary.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's really likely. Now, look, if we go out there Wednesday, and we're saying that because of the forecast. I mean, what's the high Wednesday supposed to be about? What, like 18?
Something like that. Something awful.
I'd be surprised if they've been practicing at the link Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be surprised if they're out there. I just don't know how much you can do. I don't know how healthy it is to be out there in those conditions. Maybe they will.
And if the forecast on Sunday said the same, there'd be a reason to do it.
Sure.
But it doesn't.
Yeah. The problem is their bubble is really limiting. It's the surface is tough on guys' knees, ankles. I'm not sure, players hate that place. It's beyond the fact that it's only 70 yards.
But I don't know if they can get in there without missing an avalanche.
We saw, like, we were walking down to the coordinators in the auditorium. What did we see? It was like the roof of the bubble was covered in ice and snow, and all of a sudden it was like
one big chunk fell out. It sounded like it was loud.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, you've been up on top of Everest, right?
What?
You never climbed Everest yet? No. I know you're a big outdoorsman. Just thought maybe, but like you see these videos of, like, skiers in these remote areas and there's an avalanche. And it was, yeah. I mean, I've never seen an avalanche in South Philadelphia is my point.
That was loud.
Yeah, and then when we left, there were barriers surrounding the entire entranceway. So anyway, It's going to be sunny and 44. It looks like game time. So yeah, they really don't need a field bigger than 70 yards practice field because it's not like they throw it more than 11 yards.
Yeah, Saquon needs a bigger runway though.
That's right. Practice taking a knee at the 10 or the 40. So yeah, I'm really curious. We'll know more when we give you our Thursday podcast in a couple of days, but I'm guessing they'll be indoors Wednesday, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Just give me like a confidence level 1 through 10 that the passing game is going to look better against the Commanders.
It's not real high, Dave.
And like with that said, give me the number, but can they still win if it doesn't?
It's going to be harder than it has been. And these 2 wins haven't come easy. 5.
I think I would tip it over the midway point, the cowardly midway point that you just picked. I'd go 6.
I wasn't really looking at it that way, but yeah, I'll go 5. It's not like you're asking me if something's going to happen or not, and I say 50% chance. That's different. This is a scale, so it's not really a cowardly answer. Yeah, I'm just not super confident that'll be there when they need it. Mm-hmm. And it's not just Jalen, it's Kellen, it's AJ's knee, it's Devontae's overall health. I'm not sure how healthy he is at this point.
Man, he got up after that big hit on Sunday, didn't he? He popped. That's a point of pride for him. When he takes a shot like that, he pops right back up.
He does, but he's got to be sore as heck. So yeah, it's all those things. And Kellen's a big part of it too, honestly. I don't have a ton of faith in his ability to make this passing game look like it needs to look.
It is like, this is a big topic for the off season, and we'll see if Kellen's back or if there's a different coordinator. But you look at that run game, and it's so innovative. It's so much fun. They're doing like all these different kinds of runs. And then you look at the passing game, it's like, oh, here we go. We got the same stuff. And it's, we talked about the word that they used was stale, right? Stale offense last year. You got to freshen it up. It hasn't really happened.
Why does it look so different when Tanner McKee's playing? I know it's the Giants, but just things look sharper and crisper and more varied.
Mm-hmm. If you're looking for common denominators,
the ball's getting out quicker.
One of them is the quarterback and one of them is the head coach. And I don't know which is which, but then the head coach was there for that. You don't want to put too much on that Tanner McKee game, but you're right. It did look different. And look, that's not to say that you shouldn't cater to the quarterback. You absolutely should. You should run what the quarterback feels comfortable with. But I'm not seeing a lot of like this offense getting guys open. It's a lot of just relying on the talent they have. And a lot of times it works. Like you get AJ Brown in the one-on-one situation, you'll take your chances and you can win. But sometimes it feels like that's the hard way to do things.
Yeah. I mean, look, how many wins? What do they have? Like 16 wins? So they're doing something right. But I just keep coming back to they believe their best formula to win is running the ball 30 times, 35 times, playing great defense, and not putting Jalen in a position to make mistakes. That's what it looks like. That they're kind of just they were 2-2 the first month. Jalen was making mistakes. He was throwing for a lot of yards. And did they just say, let's just limit the ways he can make plays and the way he can mess up? I don't know. I'm thinking out loud, but it just seems that way. It just seems like they feel like for them to win, Jalen, they got to minimize Jalen's role.
Yeah,
and that's not great.
Yeah, it's not, but also it's all working. Like I don't want to. Sure. It's working like crazy. This team is one game away from the Super Bowl. Like what they've done offensively, some of it has been really impressive. The way they've utilized Saquon, the way they're letting the offensive line block, the way they've changed their entire formula based on having that running back, it's all really impressive. All we're saying is that I think there are varying levels of confidence that when they need to pass the ball, they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, fair.
All right, let's take a little break. We'll talk about the defense, And then we'll get into everything else on the other side. I want to remind everyone at Xfinity Live on Wednesday, 5 to 10, a Birds playoff party presented by Toyota. We have a 6 p.m. live Birds huddle, 6:30 live Mission 59 Let's Fly, and then at 7 p.m. a live Q&A with all of our Eagles experts. I use that term loosely.
All our experts plus Rube.
Myself, Ashlyn Sullivan, Barrett Brooks. And then 8 p.m., this will be a lot of fun. NBC Sports Philadelphia quiz. There'll be giveaways, prizes. Should be a lot of fun. It'll be cold outside, too. So get out of the cold and come hang out with us.
So we'll be inside?
I hope so. God, I hope so. Defense real quick. Jayden Daniels. I talked to a bunch of Eagles defenders in the locker room after the game about Daniels, and they all know how good he is. He's been unbelievable. He's going to win Rookie of the Year in a runaway. What do you make of the season he's had?
I voted for Will Shipley, but
Will got one vote. That's good. It's been unbelievable what he's been able to do. And if you're an Eagles fan, I think there should be a healthy fear of Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, and I think the most impressive thing about him is his knack for making big plays with the game on the line in the final couple minutes, and he keeps doing it over and over. Obviously, he did it to this team. And you look at that game where Washington, was it 36-33? He wasn't good for a lot of that game. I think he threw 2 picks. He threw 1 in the first game, so he's thrown 3 picks against the Eagles this year. He hadn't thrown for a ton of yards. They were scuffling, and then, they had, I think, 15 points going into the fourth quarter, and then, or 14, I think it was 14 because they scored 22, right? So they had 14 points early in the fourth quarter, and you're thinking they're shutting this guy down, but then he just has that ability that great quarterbacks have of, when the game's on the line, they just turn into a different guy. And you don't see that knack usually from young guys. It's something that older guys develop and figure out over time, how to start playing better in the middle of a game. He's got it. And that makes him so dangerous because at the end of games, he's got so much confidence. You just watch them, and the whole team does, in him, and his rapport with Terry McLaurin just got better and better each week during the season. Remember, it started out, McLaurin wasn't catching a lot of passes. Now, he looks like himself. This guy's never had a good quarterback, and he's so dangerous. So it's tough because you might think, and kind of like what happened last week. You think the game's over after a second long Saquon run, and all of a sudden the Rams get hot and Stafford gets hot, a guy that has the same ability, but is 20 years older. So he's dangerous. I still like the matchup between the Eagles secondary and Jayden Daniels. I just think this secondary is so good. They're going to force a couple turnovers because he will put it up for grabs. You worry about him getting out and running. They limited that last time. I think he only had 15 rushing yards in the last game. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating matchup between Vic, the grizzled old D coordinator, and a rookie quarterback. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it'll be a fun matchup. And I think you're right. You look back to that Week 16 game, they thought they won that, on defense. They thought they had it, and then they had to go back out there, and that's when Daniels drove down the field. He's been really good at getting all of his receivers involved.
Mm-hmm.
Diami Brown had a big performance last week. We saw OZ, our old buddy Olamide Zaccheaus is involved. Zach Ertz is involved. Terry McLaurin, obviously. He's spreading the ball around, and he doesn't look like a rookie. He just doesn't. Vic Fangio had a great line on Tuesday and say he's a rookie only by birth certificate. He's not playing like it.
I don't think your birth certificate lists your years of pension credit, though.
It does say your age.
Yeah. He's 24.
It doesn't say your age. It says your birth date.
He is 24, so he's...
Do you have your birth certificate?
I do. Yeah. You want to see it?
You carry it around with it?
I do.
It's on a rock. It's been chiseled in.
Never know when you're going to need it. I needed it recently. I can't remember why.
It is crazy that your birth certificate and your social security card, which are two pretty important documents, are on the flimsiest paper we could find.
I think birth certificate's kind of on thicker stock.
Not my birth certificate.
Yeah, but I was. Where were you born?
Philadelphia.
Just
UPenn.
UPenn. Okay. Yeah. So Mount Carmel Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. It's pretty thick cardstock with like I don't know. Anyway, what are we talking about? Jayden Daniels. Yeah, he's impressive. Vic was asked if he's the best rookie he's ever seen, and he kind of thought about it for a second. He said, yeah, he's seen everybody.
Yeah, that'd be fun to really see where this season stacks up against other rookie quarterbacks. There have been some other really good ones. It's not like
Brock Purdy a couple years ago.
Sure. There have been others.
I know you're not a fan, but
yeah,
he had a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Carson as a rookie was really good. Nothing like this, though.
No, not like this. Carson's year was the second year that was.
Yeah, but he was good as a rookie. I mean, he played well. I mean, they won his first couple starts.
Mm-hmm.
It was best year by an Eagles rookie.
Okay.
But yeah, you look up the numbers, and I mean, he's on the top of everything for rookie quarterbacks. He's a dangerous one.
You mentioned Vic Fangio. We did talk to him on Tuesday. Any other takeaways from Uncle Vic?
Uncle Vic?
Yeah.
I think the stuff about the stuff about Jayden Daniels to me was the most compelling, and just got a ton of respect for him, and really praised him a lot, and the people around him. He's got good weapons too, and just like you said, using all his weapons makes him even more dangerous.
Yeah, I asked him about Oren Burks because we were expecting to see Trotter Jr. in there, and it was all Oren Burks. And
your theory was right.
Yeah, they started with Burks, and they had a plan to get Trotter in there, and thought, no, he's playing well. Let's stick with him. I like that. No reason to change it. Burks played well.
I asked about Nolan Smith because you look at Nolan Smith's first month, no sacks, no tackles for loss, no quarterback hits. He didn't make a splash play before the bye. And Vic said he saw things. He said, he could tell he was getting better. He was putting in the work. He was getting reps. He was playing. He said he could tell that it was going to happen for him, maybe not so abruptly and so overwhelmingly. I mean, he's been incredible since the bye week. I mean, gosh, he's got 3 sacks in a postseason. Only half off Hassan Reddick's record, 3.5, 2 years ago. I'm amazed by Nolan Smith and what he's given this team. He's
been great. And think about where they'd be without him. They needed him to have this type of season.
Yeah. So what did he have? 6.5 during the regular year?
Yeah.
And he's got 3. So he's got 9.5 sacks. Yeah.
He's been their best edge rusher. Early in the season, it was Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
It's been Nolan Smith.
Yeah. Weird year for Sweat. Slow start. Then he was really good for a while. I didn't think he had a great game Sunday.
No, he had the one big tackle for loss. He kind of went unblocked on that play, but he still made it.
Yeah.
That was a big play.
It was a big play. But they could use him. Use a little more. What did he say? He was trying so hard he almost threw up. Were you there when he said that?
Trying so hard?
He was just trying to get a sack so hard.
Oh.
That he said, and he said it. He was talking about the footing and just how he couldn't get a good rush. He said it was so frustrating he almost threw up. I appreciate that from Sweaty.
Yeah, he was not happy with the conditions.
No, he did not like it.
I get it. They weren't ideal for an edge rusher.
No. He said I'd rather play on that bleepy field in Brazil than this, which is saying a lot.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from Vic Fangio?
No.
Okay. Kellen Moore, again, didn't say a whole heck of a lot. We mentioned he took ownership of the safety. Yeah, it wasn't a good play call. I still think there were other elements there.
Yeah.
In general, I didn't love his play calling, especially we mentioned it like after Jalen's banged up, you got to change your approach a little bit.
Yeah, and he didn't, which is really surprising. And did he think he was not hurt as bad as he was, or that the conditions weren't going to bother him? I don't know, but it wasn't ideal. He's got to be better.
I agree with that. A lot of people are like worried about, were those interviews last week the reason he was he not prepared? I don't think so. If it was like a 1 week thing, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not a 1 week thing. He said last week the only thing he missed was a 4th grade basketball game on Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, there's been other weeks that he didn't have interviews that he wasn't very good. So, and I don't think he's been a disaster, but I feel like he's been a disappointment.
Sure, and I don't know how much of it is him and how it's impossible to really divvy it up.
I'll say 50-50.
Anything else from Kellen Moore that stood out?
There wasn't a lot there.
You asked him about Dallas Goedert. I thought he gave a really good response about how much Dallas has meant for them in their run game, especially. Like we see the catches. That's easy to see, but it's rare to have a dual threat tight end like this.
And he did say, and this is kind of what I was getting at. I probably didn't ask the question well enough, but there hasn't been a lot there in the passing game. But when they need a big play, Dallas has been there. And I think his quote was something like, he just has that knack of being there when there's a big play to be made.
Yeah, what do you have, 5 for 56? And then he had the 19-yarder called back.
Yeah.
That was a good game for Goddard.
Most catches in Eagles history in the postseason. And 9th most among tight ends, tied with Zach Ertz, oddly enough.
Really? Who did he take over for on the Eagles list?
Oh, Chad Lewis. Yeah, I thought you meant like who did he pass?
No.
Yeah, Chad Lewis had 39.
Well,
so yeah,
it's pretty impressive for a guy who got here in 18.
Yeah,
he missed that Super Bowl run in 17. So
it's just they'd be lost without him. I mean, he's like the one guy that he's had 8 targets, he's caught 8 passes in the postseason, and I mean the touchdown was a thing of beauty. It's just the stiff arms down the field. It seems like he's the one guy that Jalen's comfortable throwing to right now. Where's Britton Covey when you need him?
Michael Clay. Any takeaways from what Michael Clay had to say?
Talked about Jake's PAT misses, said he was rushing the kicks, which is interesting. It's a little nugget of, he said that sometimes when there's a big play and Saquon gets a big run, that it's different for a kicker because like in a 10-play drive, a 7.5-minute drive, you have all this time to kind of prepare, when they're going to score, you're kind of getting ready. But with a big, long Saquon run, he's all of a sudden he's out there kicking the PAT. Maybe he hasn't had. So the teaching point was just be ready to kick all the time. Because when you have a guy like 26, you could be kicking anytime. So I'm not sure I buy that, but
I mean, Saquon's had a lot of long runs this year.
Yeah. And he's missed a lot of extra points.
Okay. It'd be fun to go back and see how many of those were.
Yeah. But it's bizarre because I do give Jake credit for having the mental toughness to overcome misses, and he made some tough field goals, 3 for 3. His 5th career postseason game where he's had 3 attempts and made them all. He's 22 for 22 in his career in the postseason. Only, I believe, Robbie Gould has attempted more and been perfect.
Is that right?
Yeah. 29 for 29. Will he catch him?
That sounds like an outfielder. Will he catch him?
Will he catch him?
Yeah, will he catch him in center field?
Hank catch him. But he was the Dennis the Menace guy, right? Hank Ketchum.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
You big Dennis the Menace fan?
No, not really.
The other stuff from Michael Clay, he did talk about the operation. He said that the snaps from Lovato were okay. He talked about how hard it is to snap the ball in that weather, and that's true. There were still kind of wild snaps, and I thought Braden Mann did a heck of a job catching them and putting them down. Yeah,
he was raving about Braden Mann's holds.
The other thing from Michael Clay was about like the process of clearing the field.
That was interesting. Snow.
And that's a good point. John Ferrari, who's their assistant, or what is he? Assistant GM?
I think he is.
Assistant
GM. But he's like the rules
He's
expert.
Their rules expert. And he did a good job reminding them during the week as they're preparing for the snow game that you can clear the field with your hands. You cannot use a towel.
Yeah.
That's a penalty. So, I mean, that's a big deal in a snow game. So I like that Michael Clay said it was kind of like a pit crew out there clearing the snow for where Rick was going to snap it, but also where Jake was going to kick it.
Yeah, and I never really thought about it, but it makes sense that you can't use a towel to clear, but it's a good thing to remind the players. You got to use your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
Strategy on clearing snow.
You have to have strategy for it. It's a big moment in the game. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we'll do our power rankings, and we have a bunch of questions from all you guys.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
All right, we're back on the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan, Reuben Frank, and Dave Zangaro. Reuben, it's time for our power rankings. There's just 4 teams left fighting to go to the Super Bowl. This is interesting, by the way. You look at DraftKings, the Eagles right now, actually the favorites to win the Super Bowl, and I think it has a lot to do with their opponent, probably the weakest opponent on paper left, but right. Eagles are plus 190, Chiefs plus 200, Bills plus 250, Washington plus 800. So kind of tells you that a lot of it has to do with the opponent, but right now the Eagles have the shortest odds to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, when you look at it that way, and how big was it for? I mean, because Washington beating Detroit not only brought the number one, the NFC Championship game here and essentially made the Eagles the top seed, it also eliminated a really good team and gave the Eagles, I think Washington's good, but it gave them the worst team left in the field. So it did a number of things.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles would certainly not be favored on the road against Detroit.
No. Well, I wonder what that line would be.
I've thought about that. I'm not sure. I was thinking, so right now the Eagles line is 6. The Bills Chiefs line is Chiefs minus 1.5. So it'd be between there, like 4,
probably
4.5.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about it.
Nope.
Number 1 team left on your power rankings.
Well, I've had the Bills up at the top for a while now, and I'm keeping them there.
Yeah, I'm keeping the Chiefs there. They're playing well. The referees might be in the bag for them, and they're still a number 1 team.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't watch that game. I wish it was on Saturday.
I did, by the way, go back and watch that Bills-Ravens game.
Did you?
I said, yeah. Feel bad for Mark Andrews.
Yeah, got to live with that.
Yeah, it's a tough one to live with.
It is. Good player, really good player. So I got Bills number 1 and Chiefs number 2. You have Eagles number 2?
I do. Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Commanders.
Yeah.
You have Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Commanders.
Yeah. And look,
all that really matters is you have the Eagles above the Commanders.
I guess for this week, that's all that matters, really. None of it really matters in the big picture, but
nothing matters.
No.
Yeah. What are we even doing here? We're on a floating rock hurling through space, right?
I guess we are. Yeah. I was reading about the nature of the universe, how it's always expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's expanding faster than the speed of light, but nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, but it can grow faster than the speed of light because it's not moving in a conventional sense.
I once tried to read Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time.
Yeah.
I then tried to read Stephen Hawking's A Briefer History of Time.
I got about as far through that as I got through Infinite Jest.
I read it, and I swear there was like a 5-second period of time where I understood time-space.
Really?
Yeah.
And then it went away?
It went away pretty quick, yeah.
Well, you had those 5 seconds.
Yeah, I always have those 5 seconds.
You had that moment.
Like I felt like I hit an epiphany. I was like, I get it. And then it was just gone.
Yeah. Moment of clarity. I do think the Eagles are probably better than the Chiefs. I think if the Eagles play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, they're going to win. I don't think but I've had the Chiefs.
They already played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl with a better roster and lost.
The Eagles had a better roster in 22.
Oh yeah.
But I think the Chiefs were better in 22 also.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And I think the difference might be, which defense do you think is better, 22 or this one?
The Eagles?
Yeah.
This one.
I mean, that was a really good defense.
This one. Not even close, this one.
Oh, I think it's close.
It's not close.
Yeah.
It's not close. No, it's not.
Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. All right. Anyway, so I got Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Commanders.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah.
It's time for some questions. If you have a question for us, it's eagleeye@nbcuni.com. That's nbcuni.com. QR code on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, you can click that, scan it, send us a question that way. First one here from Jonathan. Gentlemen, longtime listener and appreciate what you bring 3 times a week. Why do I not feel elated after that victory? Saquon Barkley once again put on a clinic. Maybe it's the horrible sacks Jalen Hurts is taking. A safety? Come on, man. The defense has been saving this team, but it's starting to show signs of weaknesses, especially with injuries mounting up. I really hope Quinyon Mitchell can go versus Washington. Please help me feel better about this playoff run.
Yeah, I think in the playoffs, I mean, you win, you're elated. I don't think anything else really matters. And I wouldn't say the defense. I mean, as you go deeper and deeper in the playoffs, I mean, they gave up 20 points. To
playing the best teams now.
Yeah, you're playing the best teams.
They have to be hot because they're winning to get there.
Yeah, and that's a legit offense that the Rams have. They're really good. They score a lot of points. And ultimately they made a play when they had to make a play. And when you have Jalen Carter playing the way he did, how did you feel on that last drive? So they have 1st and 10 on the 21, I think, like a minute and a half left, 28-22 game. Did you think they were going to score?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I kind of did.
Okay.
And that's probably unfair to Vic Fangio, but it just the way that the previous possession was awful. Like they gave it up way too quick. Like you could let them score. You couldn't let them score as quick as they let them score because that got them right back in the game.
Yeah.
I think there was some concern there.
Yeah. My gut feeling was they were going to stop them. I just
even after that Puka Nacua catch
made
down
it
the
3rd and 3.
No, I mean like the long catch over Slye.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just saw someone was going to make a play. I thought someone was going to get a pick. I thought like Blankenship was going to get a pick. Something was going to happen like that. But I'm not concerned with the defense. I mean, obviously they missed N'Kobe, they missed BG. So I would say
and we'll see about Quinyon Mitchell's status this week. That's obviously a big one.
Yeah.
We don't know much about that yet.
And I think Isaiah Rodgers is fine. He gave us some plays. He was in pretty good position on both of them. They're just great plays. He had the longest fumble recovery return in Eagles playoff history. William Thomas had the previous long. I thought that was interesting. I never knew that. I never knew that record existed. I'm not super concerned with the defense.
Oh, I knew the record existed.
Well, yeah, I guess that's fair. The Jalen sack thing is my biggest concern right now. It's not even the passing game. It's not even the yards. It's those negative plays.
Is it
because every time you get sacked,
is it just the negative plays or like the management inside the pocket in general?
Well, that turns into the negative plays. I mean, it's 3rd and 19. This team is not going to convert 3rd and 19s unless Saquon runs for it, which is not going to happen very often. So every sack is basically you're throwing away the drive. You're just giving away the possession every time you get sacked. Mm-hmm. It's tough to do.
Okay. Alfred. Hi, guys. I need to hear your expert opinion on this. Why, oh, why do we play soft defense when we're up by 2 scores and allow the opposition to score relatively quickly to make it a nail-biting 1-possession game? It happened tonight after it looked like 26 put the nail on the coffin, and it happened in our first matchup against the Commanders. I hate it. I guess he means the second matchup.
Yeah. Look, I'm never going to question Vic. I mean, the concern is that if you play super aggressive, that they're going to hit a big play on you. In those situations, sometimes you just have a hot quarterback and a team that's just kind of things start clicking. That's what happened in that last Washington game.
I wonder if the conditions also played a role in how they were playing so passively.
Could be.
It's like, man, you bite on a move and they get a 60-yard touchdown. Like we talked about how quick they scored. It's a lot quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I thought he was more aggressive on the last drive. He tightened things up a little bit. They still both scored, but you have is Matt Stafford a Hall of Famer? He's probably borderline.
He doesn't have the accolades, but he's been really good for a long time.
He might be more of a compiler, but he did win a suit. How many? He's probably never been an All-Pro first team, right?
I don't believe so. And his Pro Bowls like almost non-existent too.
Just 2 Pro Bowls in 16 years.
Put up big numbers.
Starting for 60,000 yards. losing record, 108, 113. Obviously, Detroit, all those years, they were bad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't vote for him. Some people will. But anyway, he's a really good
better
player.
Quarterback than Eli.
Yeah. I wouldn't vote for Eli.
Okay.
So, yeah, sometimes the guy just gets hot and you just kind of hang out for dear life and hope
Play another guy who can get hot this weekend.
Sure are.
Yeah. Next question is Billy. Hi, Dave and Rube. Appreciate the pod and appreciate your coverage of the Eagles. Were you surprised that Trotter Jr. didn't get more snaps at linebacker during the Rams game? Not sure about exact snap counts, but it felt like Burks got the majority of reps. Burks did tip a Stafford pass, which was huge, but I still thought it would be more of a 50-50 split between those two. Based on the strengths of each linebacker, which one is better suited to stop a dynamic quarterback like Jayden Daniels?
Yeah, and we asked Vic about it, and he said, that was the plan going in. It was to mix Trot in there, but it started going well for Oren Burks from the start. He just left him in. I thought he played well. I thought he was fine. I thought we were going to see a lot more Trotter, and I thought Trotter was going to give him a better chance to win. I was wrong about that because Oren Burks played well.
I thought he played well. He's not N'Kobe.
No.
I think that Vic called the game a little differently, knowing that he had a backup out there, and that's fine. You probably should do that. It'll be Burks' job to lose. Like if he comes out in this next game and plays really well, they're just going to roll with him. Like they're not going to take him off the field. Yeah. But if there becomes a moment where like Cliff Kingsbury's like targeting him and it's a problem, I don't think they would hesitate to put Trotter in there.
Well, and they have a better receiving back than the Rams, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Eckler, that's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Vic did give the opinion that Burks and Trotter are similar in coverage, which surprised me. He said there's not a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I sense that Trotter is better in coverage, but Vic would know better than I would.
Yeah, and he doesn't blow smoke normally.
No. And it's interesting, too, because Oren Burks he's just a one-year contract, right?
Yeah.
We don't know when N'Kobe – man, they miss N'Kobe so much. It's just such an unfortunate injury. He's playing so well, such a big part of what they do on defense. And, everyone says this guy loves to play the game. I mean, the passion and love he has for the game is – I'm just, it's awful. But anyway, you might have to start thinking about who's going to play that spot next year. At least starting the year, I don't see N'Kobe being ready to play at the beginning of the year. Obviously, it's a bigger priority to get Zach Bond signed, but it's not a position where they have a ton of depth looking forward. If you don't have N'Kobe, that makes it more important to sign Zach Bond, but also maybe get Oren Burks back.
Yeah, maybe we'll see how
we'll see how Sunday
game,
goes.
maybe 2 games go.
Yeah.
From James, hey guys, I just want to say Nick Sirianni is an amazing coach. Every press conference, he says it takes all of us, and then you see guys like Moro Ojima, Jay Lexon, and Oren Burks step up. It just shows you that this team is all in with Nick, and he's the perfect leader for the locker room. I don't want any other coach. Nick is the guy.
Well, you don't have to worry about that for at least a year. I think Nick is really good at getting guys to understand their roles and understand that whether you're the 53rd guy on the team, practice squad, whatever, master your role and accept it and embrace it and be as good as you can within that role. And these guys buy in.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And it's kind of crazy to think about how far we've come this year. When this team was 2-2, like one of the hot topics around this city was like, does Nick survive the year? And at that point, like everything was viewed in the context of it took a lot to bring him back.
Yeah.
They clearly thought about moving on after 2023. They make these kind of sweeping changes to the coaching staff. They bring in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. They changed Sirianni's role. He's now the CEO coach. There were a lot of questions about his future. And no matter what happens Sunday, I got to think he's back.
Yeah.
But like they also got to think about the contract extension. It's not this team style. They're not the Cowboys. They don't let coaches go into a lame duck year. That's not good for anyone. So if you're not going to let them go into a lame duck year, it's time to sign them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that'll happen.
I do too. From Ted, Reuben and Dave, your show is the best. I love it. 2 questions after that heart-pounding game that took me several hours to recover from. If the Eagles had lost, where would you put that loss on the Eagles Hall of Infamy?
Yeah, I looked up. I was trying to find the last team to blow a 13-point lead in the last 5 minutes of a playoff game. I went back 50 years and couldn't find one. There was a 12. I think the Seahawks blew a 12-point lead in the last few minutes. But, yeah, I mean, there's been some bad ones. I mean, even the Super Bowl there have been some really devastating postseason losses. This would have been way, way up there.
Yeah, like the name like Stafford would like cut through you.
Yeah.
Like the name. Yeah, I don't have to say the names. We know the names from the games past at the link that the Eagles should have won and they lost.
Tim Hightower on that fourth down. That one that might be the worst one. It's underrated with that 2008 NFC Championship game in Arizona. Because they took the lead on that 62-yarder from Donovan to Deshaun with DRC covering them, and they were that close to winning the game. And then Kurt Warner did that to a lot of
funny
people.
That's the one you think of.
Yeah, I thought they had that game won. I thought they were the better team. They just beat them 48-20 on Thanksgiving, I think was the score. I
think like Joe Jurevicius is probably the name that sticks out to me.
Yeah, but I they were never in that game, really.
Sure, but they were like favored.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to to me the worst ones are the ones that you have in hand seemingly. That's why this one would have been so devastating. You're up 13 with 4.5 minutes left. You can't lose that game. So those are the ones I look at as the kind of the worst ones. Certainly the Packers game, the Riley Cooper, Tramon Williams game. There have been some bad ones. We don't have to go through them all, but this would have been at the very, very top.
One last question from Ted. I continue to have concerns about Sirianni and his in-game management decisions. Would you have gone for 2 after Saquon's second touchdown? Given the conditions and Elliott's recent struggles with extra points, I think that going for 2 was the wiser move.
I didn't think about that at the time.
I did. I was in the stadium going, go for this.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I would have gone for 2. I think you have a higher percentage to get into the end zone than you do.
Yeah, I think it's a good point.
Yeah. And, we didn't really talk about it post-game because they won. That sequence at the end of the first half was awful.
Yeah.
Just a disaster. So if they lose that game and we're going through what could have gone differently, that was one of them. And look, I think that Nick does leave a lot to be desired in some of those situations.
Yeah, it's not a strength.
All right, that'll wrap it up for today. I want to remind everyone, if you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. One more time on Wednesday, come on out, Xfinity Live. We have a live Birds Huddle, live Mission 59, a Q&A, and then NBC Sports Philadelphia Quizzo. I'll be out there. Rube will be out there. Should be a lot of fun.
Can't wait.
Any final words,
you guys? No, hope to see everyone out there.
All right, everyone take care. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.